You're good. So yeah, the Tooele Valley, September 11th, 2023 meeting of the rural planning organization starting about 1:30. And I think we'll start off with introductions. We've got a few new faces here today, and glad everybody's able to participate. One of these times I might threaten to insist that it's an in-person meeting so that we can enjoy some face-to-face conversation in addition to virtual conversation. But nonetheless, happy you're all here. And I'm Wayne Benyon with the Wasatch Front Regional Council. We provide staff support to the RPO, and we'll go around the room here, and then I'll just read off names from the screen.
All right, I'm Brittany Lopez, the Assistant County Manager for Tooele County.
Rochelle Custer, Tooele County Community Development Director.
Terry Minor, or the City Council.
Terrific. And Becky?
I think you mean online. So I'm Becky Stromness. I'm with UDOT, project manager with the upcoming project on SR 36.
Thank you. Chip?
I am Chip Hill, and it comes up as Charles, but I go by Chip for those that haven't met me. I am the Region 2 Traffic Operations Engineer for UDOT.
And Jesse?
Jesse Wilson, Grantsville City Manager.
Thank you. Kip?
I remembered to unmute myself. Kip Billings, Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Rosie?
Rosie Hernandez, Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Juan?
Juanless Bradlin, UDOT Project Manager over the Mid-Valley Highway project.
Olivia?
Hi, Olivia, Strategic Planner over at UTA.
James?
James Waltz, Grantsville City Public Works Director. Hi, everyone.
And Katie?
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Corianos with Corox, working with Becky and Juan on projects in Tooele Valley. Public involvement.
And Council Member Von Hatten?
Hi, yes, I'm Kathleen Von Hatten, Lake Point City Council.
Thank you. And Dan?
Dan England, Grantsville City Engineer.
Terrific. And Mayor Critchlow?
Neil Critchlow, Mayor, Grantsville City.
Thank you, Mayor. And we've got one more joining us in person.
Andy Welch, Tooele County Manager.
Thank you, Andy. All right. With that, we'll go to the June 12th, 2023 meeting minutes. And hopefully you've had a chance to look those over. And whenever somebody's ready, I would entertain a motion. We've got a few people that were not in attendance, and
I was in attendance, Wayne. I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Terrific. Thank you, James. And a second?
Second it?
Sure.
Okay, I'll second it.
That was Andy Welch with Tooele County offering the second. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 And those will stand approved. Thank you. First, we'd like to turn some time over to Chip, and he'll talk a bit about the CMAQ program schedule this year.
Thanks, Wayne. Yeah, I was just trying to find when I put it on my calendar, those upcoming due dates. So, as you know, we accept the CMAQ for the local governments for submittal. The letter of intent, we're looking to have those by Friday the 13th in October. Just It just happened to be Friday the 13th. It wasn't on purpose or anything like that. So it's don't think of it as ominous, but that's what we're looking for, the letters of intent to submit for the CMAQ money. And then we'd be looking for the concepts in November, so we can talk about them at the December meeting. And so we'd like to have those by November 17th. That way we have a chance to review them and discuss them with W4C. And then we can talk about them at the December meeting.
Great.
I think that's everything.
Any questions for Jim? Hearing none, we'll go straight to Juan Spradlin for the Mid-Valley Highway update. Gee, sorry, I got to remember. I think I'm just going to leave myself unmuted. Apologize for that. Any questions for Chip? Hearing none, we'll turn it over to Juan for the Mid-Valley Highway update.
Could someone let me have share screen, please?
Rosie's getting you there.
Thank you.
That might be someone from Tooele County that has those permissions.
Yep.
There we go.
Oh, yes. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm UDOT project manager for the Mid-Valley Highway that connects phase 1 at Highway SR 138 through all the way to the south, connecting in south of Tooele City, connecting into SR 36. We are finally making some progress to the end goal of completing the EA, environmental assessment. The overall goal is to minimize community and environmental impacts. So we are at the end. We will be holding a public hearing and comment period very shortly. It will be released, and we anticipate having an in-person and online public hearing in late September. I believe it's at the city building on September 28th. And online, if you can attend the meeting in person, you can. There is an online opportunity. If anybody needs a personal invite or anything like that, let me know. But we are finally moving forward. Part of the reason we were stalled for a bit is we didn't have a funded phase for this project identified per the federal requirements. We were able to go to the last Transportation Commission in August and ask for 500 grand to proceed with acquiring the perpetual easement or permit through the Tooele Army Depot's land to the south, because it's a long lead item that would take 2 to 3 years to complete. So during that time, we can work on other funding sources to move it up into a funded phase. So with that, does anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you, Juan. Glad to hear things are moving forward. Any questions for Juan? If not, I've got 1 or 2 questions, if I may. Wanted to find out what the schedule is for releasing the preferred alternative. If that's, and maybe that should be obvious from the information you've just given, but is there a formal official release date for that preferred alternative?
Yes, we are releasing it this week for 2 weeks before, basically 2 weeks before the September 26th. So this is it will be this week, and then have the actual hearing, and then 2 weeks after that, for a total of a month.
Juan, this is Katie. If you don't mind me jumping in, it is up on the website as of today. Actually yesterday, but this is the first business day where people are taking a look at it. And the comment period, like Juan mentioned, is open through October 10th, which would be about 2 weeks after the hearing itself. Hearing follows, like she said, right in the middle of the comment period. We have some information going out. We're starting our advertisement today and through the end of the week to everybody to let them know about the meeting.
Thank you. So if I'm understanding correctly, it's already accessible on the project website. And would you remind us the URL for the project website?
Absolutely. It's udot.utah.gov/midvalley. And I can put that in the chat as well.
Terrific.
That's right on the presentation you see right there, just in case. I'll leave it up.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate that, Juan and Katie. Any comments or questions? All right, udot.utah.gov/midvalley. Appreciate that. All right, let's proceed. We'll go to item 4 and turn some time over to Becky for an update on the SR 36 and I-80 projects.
Yeah, I would like to share as well. So if you can grant me that, that would be nice. Got it. Great. So I believe last month I was able to just join this meeting last minute, saying I was just coming on board to work on some new projects out in the Tooele Valley. So luckily I've been able to make some progress over the last couple months. I was able to get a consultant hired, and once that was done, we've been out in the field this last month, especially the last few weeks, especially collecting survey data, trying to verify the right-of-way, investigating utilities, looking at the drainage features out there. We've got crossings, just everything. So we're kind of in the investigative stage, trying to assess what we have out there. And then the intent of this project is going to be adding another lane in the southbound direction. And that's kind of shown here on the map. And we start on the north end towards the Sunset intersection and go down to Stansbury Parkway on the south end. So that's the scope of the project. If you look close here, I'll zoom in a little bit to make it a little bit easier of the typical section of what we're looking at. But so we'll be going from the 2 lanes to the 3 lanes. We'll have a full inside shoulder, the 3 travel lanes, and then a full outside shoulder there. So it should be a nice facility with the intent to be moving lots of vehicles, lots of traffic to help reduce the congestion out there. As far as our schedule is concerned, we are looking to have our 30% design accomplished next month in October. We'll keep proceeding through the design and look for advertisement in about February next year. Hopefully everything goes according to plan and we don't have any major hiccups. I think our biggest risk at this time is dealing with potential utilities that we would have to relocate, and just some of the lead time that is involved with those sometimes. But that is the intent of this project. And I guess the other thing I should mention, and I can't recall from last time if it was mentioned or not, but we're trying to get this for construction for next summer. So the summer of 2024. But there's a second project that's going to be coming in the northbound direction. That starts in Stansbury and it's going to connect up to the SR 201, adding a third lane. That one is going to take a little bit longer because we know we probably have some right-of-way impacts where we need to purchase some property, as well as potential wetlands and other environmental factors. I'm just getting underway, getting someone hired for that. So I'm guessing the next meeting, I'll be able to report on that project as well. But is there any questions I can answer for anyone?
I have one from Lake Point.
Okay.
Have you at all considered on the southbound side adding 2 more lanes so we don't have to take the right of way over on the northbound and kind of shifting everything over? Because there's a lot more property on the southbound to go on the west side of the freeway than there is on the east. And instead of taking so much property on the east side, kind of extend 2 more lanes on the one side and kind of move everything over one.
Haven't looked at that. That's a great suggestion. I am worried about right away, like you mentioned. I believe there's a gas station and some other businesses along there.
Right. It would greatly affect all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So usually when we have circumstances like this, we try to see what we can do to minimize those impacts. And sometimes that is shifting. Sometimes it's reducing some of the shoulder widths or lane widths or just different things. Sometimes we're able to build like a retaining wall instead of like a slope to just reduce impacts. And I don't have enough information quite yet to be able to know what we're going to do up in the Lake Point area. Especially, I'm thinking mostly the businesses on the east side are the ones that could be more impacted. But hopefully next meeting, I'll be able to have a little bit more information and report on how that's coming along there. But yeah, we don't buy right away if we don't have to. We try not to impact people if we don't have to. So that's definitely at the forefront of our mind.
Great, thanks. Yeah, because the goal is to get a lot more businesses in there. And as you shrink that, that's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we want all those intersections to work as best as they can and just move the vehicles to reduce the congestion. So that's what we're after.
Okay. Okay. If you can look at the other sides, see if that's even possible, possibly. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Any additional questions or comments for Becky? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed on to item number 5. And so you'll recall that a couple years ago, UDOT did some modeling of kind of as an extension on the Northeast area corridor study that Grant Farnsworth and others at UDOT were leading, and we had some regular updates from them. Concluded, I guess it's going on 2.5 years ago, but as from that, some of that modeling, and as well as input from several of you over a few months ago, we've moved from a preliminary draft long-range plan for the valley to a draft long-range plan. And I'll just emphasize that this is draft and it's needs-based. And I'll go ahead and ask Rosie if she would share the screen of the proposed or the draft highway phasing for out to the year 2050. And then I'll explain that map, that draft map, and we can talk a bit about it.
Okay, will you grant me permissions to share, please? Wayne, did you want to start with this one or the highway phasing?
The highway, if we could.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so can you see that all right? I'm seeing a few head nods. Up in the upper left, the legend, from the legend, you'll see the color coding for phases 1, 2, and 3. Phase 1 is 2023 to 2032. Phase 2, 33 to 42. And phase 3, 43 to 50. And I again want to emphasize that this is needs-based. So phase 1 identifies what's needed in the next 10 years, and then phase 2 for the following 10 years, and so on out to 2050. So the intent with needs-based is to emphasize that there's no guarantee of funding. And so in contrast to the statewide plan that we had, everyone had an opportunity to comment on during the summer, this is needs-based. The statewide plan is based on anticipated revenues for state roads, and so then their emphasis there is on the state roads throughout the entire state. And as we're all aware, there's always more needs than funding available. But if we do all we can to plan and prepare and work together, then we should be able to advance at least some of these priorities over the next several to many years. So let's see, compared to the last map that was shared at a previous RPO meeting, one important change here is that we've added operational projects, or in other words, projects where at least the initial need is anticipated to be going from the existing 2 lanes to a 3-lane section, and for potentially some reconstruction in some instances. So those dashed lines, those longer dashed lines indicate projects where there's an anticipated need to go from the existing 2 lanes to 3 lanes. And then the solid lines are anticipated need to widen from the existing number of through travel lanes and add additional through travel lanes. And then the dotted lines are the new construction projects. So with that explanation of this map, what questions do you have, or what comments do you have?
The small ones are new construction, and then the other dotted one says operations. What does that mean?
Right, thank you. So yes, the small dots, like the 33rd Parkway and the 400 West north-south road through the valley, or through the middle to eastern section of the valley, those are new construction. The longer dashes that are operation, quote unquote, operations, the operations means a need to at least initially go from a 2-lane section to a 3-lane section, maybe add shoulders, do other safety improvements, kind of a minor widening compared to adding through lanes. Great question, thank you. And other questions or comments?
Wayne, this is James with Grantsville City. How are you?
Great.
I don't know if anybody's on that can answer my questions, but my question, I have 2. One of them in Grantsville coming down Main Street. I see the phase one, the solid line going to about Willow Street. And then the dash line coming down Burmester, those two in particular. On Quirk Street and SR 136, we had a signal warrant review for a signalized intersection. And the warrant review from UDOT said that it did warrant a signal. And I'm just wondering I don't know if this is the right place for this conversation, but who would I talk to, or maybe get an update on what's happening with that signalized warrant review on our main street there? Thank you.
That would be me, James. So I'll pull that up and see where it is, if I can find it in the process. Once they warrant, we usually meet on site and then it goes from there. And if it's in design right now, it'd be over with Adam Lowe's group, so I can find out where it is in the process and let you know on that. I had a similar question on that same stretch where those two lines ended. I know, aren't you guys working on a study right now for that area between those two lines to determine should it be dirt shoulders or paved shoulders and some other improvements on that section?
No, Charles, I'd love to sit down and talk with you just to kind of figure out where we at, if we could even have a meeting to discuss where that is, because we have had no follow-up since that warrant review is complete.
Yep, I will find out where that signal warrant is, and then, yeah, I was surprised not to see a line on there, if nothing else, for operational between those two pieces to look at potentially paving that outside edge and putting in some curb and gutter through Grantsville proper. So that was my only comment, was should we have an operational project there, but it looks like there's a widening or two widenings in phase one and phase three that would tie into the existing non-widened section, for lack of a better term, right? So that was my only comment that I saw briefly.
Thanks. We'll follow up. If I could get your information, Charles, or maybe an email, that'd be great. I'd love to follow up with you on that. And I could put my email in the chat as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Then, am I hearing a comment that maybe we should identify an operational project? I mean, the intent, this is a long range plan, and so we're trying to balance or identify major capacity needs and maybe some major or longer, and I'm not sure operational is the best word, but something to identify going from 2 lanes to 3 lanes. But if there's a need to add or if it would be helpful to add an operational project on State Route 138 there through Grantsville, I'd be happy to entertain that idea. So.
I just have one question as well. On the dotted line on the right, it's Drew Bay. It kind of stops at the railroad tracks and then picks back up later. Is there a reason that we left out that little portion?
Thank you. This is great to get comments and questions. Maybe what we can do, I think that's just hidden because of the labeling, the street name labeling.
Could be under it.
And so I will double check on that, but the intent is not to have a gap there.
To have a gap, thank you.
And so maybe we can offset the street labels on the map. Thank you. Other comments or questions? All right.
Wayne, I noticed on Mid Valley Highway, there's like a phase 1 little connection into a phase 3 portion. Really, I think Tooele City would love that phase 3 portion that goes through the Tooele Business Park. That we'd like that to be built well before phase 3. Phase 2, if not sooner.
Okay.
So I think maybe that's the section we could, and it looks like the middle section of Mid Valley Highway through parts of Tooele, but largely through Grantsville and Erda. That shows as phase 2 as well. Maybe we could put the other section as phase 2 also.
You bet. Yeah, happy to change that to phase 2. Thank you.
And Wayne, it shows, phases 2 and 3 of Mid Valley on here, but that's the incorrect alignment. That's the original alignment.
You got that right. And so I am, thank you, glad. And if you can either email me or tell me how to get a hold of a GIS file with that, now that preferred alignment is ready to be, or has recently been released, we would love to update the map with the new preferred alignment.
Excellent. Yes. And the phase 2 and 3 is currently not on our STIP. It's in the unfunded phase, but we are working to get it moved up. So I would recommend champions to push that along this coming year as we're working on the new STIP.
Thank you. Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion. And the challenge is that some needs, I mean, there are many needs that are in the next 10 years, and yet the reality is it's likely that everything I identified in phase 1 is not going to, there's just not enough funding to move everything forward, and so on the map we're trying to show a balance of phase 1, 2, and 3, just to be realistic and not set any false expectations out there. But given that background, I think it's very important to do what Juan has said, and the local governments should be actively pursuing and working toward preparing for next steps, whether it's corridor preservation or preliminary engineering, working together, UDOT and the local governments to identify whatever funding sources can be obtained to move things forward. So you can move.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Way to help the cause, Terry. That's great. All right. Thank you. Great comments. Any additional comments or questions? Discussion? All right. Let me just point out, if Rosie, if you wouldn't mind stopping the share on the highway and sharing or moving it to the active transportation. So again, based on input from you all, this has had a few updates since the last time it was shared at an RPO meeting. And so we would love to receive any additional feedback on these proposed bicycle route phasings, and as well as project types. You can see the 2 basic project types of multi-use path, off-road, in other words, multi-use path, and then on-street bike facilities, as well as the phasing again for the next 10 years, the following 10, and then out to 2050. So just a means of identifying priorities and helping you all to try to be able to move forward on priorities. So
Wayne, one of those that you can take off now. We just finished paving the Mid Valley Trail from Rogers Street to Sheep Lane, and so that was just completed in the last couple of weeks. And so that's the red line that we have kind of in the middle there, that can be taken off. That's been completed.
Okay, I think I'll ask that we switch that to green then. The existing facilities are intended to be shown in green, so we'll move that one or switch that color to green. And if there are any others that have been completed, we'd be happy to show those as green. And again, any adjustments to phasing or project type, we would welcome. So great. Yeah, that's exciting that there are even some additional facilities that already been constructed. So that's wonderful. Any other comments or questions on this active transportation or on these bike routes?
The other, I'm not sure where it ended up. Grant was working on, it's funny, the one right above the name Grantsville. Grant was working on that. I guess there was some funding this legislative session for connecting cities. And this one would have connected, basically we were connecting from Tooele out to Desert Peak, and then this would have connected all the way over to Grantsville. And he started on that. I'm not sure if ever anything went beyond just kind of looking at, I think there was $50 million ish put in the budget this year with the legislature to make connections between cities. And so if somebody can check up on that, I'm not sure who would have taken that up after kind of Grant initially looked at that.
I imagine it would have been Jeff Dupay that would have headed that up for him once he left us. I'll follow up with both of those and see what we can find.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Chip. Any other comments? All right, well, thank you. So if you do have, these are great initial comments and conversation. If you've got additional comments you'd like to make on either of these two maps, and we're hoping to also send out to you an updated one-page summary of the transit element of the RPO plan. But if you would give us any comments, send them to myself, wbenyon@wfrc.org by September 22nd. That will help us move things forward. So thank you. All right. And we will, of course, in the next day or two, send these maps out so that you'll be able to, and in addition to, maybe you've already copied the URL from the chat, but at any rate, I assume, Rosie, you've already put those links in the chat, but if not, Rosie will do that shortly. She already has. So thank you. And you'll be able to, we'll email them as well. So you'll be able to make those comments by September 22nd. Thank you. All right. Any items of other business? All right. Well, sorry to have it be me that keeps talking here. We'll see if we can change that up next meeting. But I've got 3 items for you. One, many of you have probably already received an invitation, but if not, just to make you aware, the money that Andy was referring to, there was both one-time money and ongoing funding that the legislature designated for a UDOT or a Utah Trail Network. And so the intent with that, the governor's proposal and the legislature approved the funding, is to make a connection, a connected paved trail network throughout the state, connecting communities, connecting each of us to various destinations throughout the state. And there's a workshop to start some brainstorming on that, or to bring input on ideas for potential regional trail projects for this statewide trail network. That workshop is scheduled for Wednesday, September 27th from 10 to noon. And it's scheduled to be at the Deseret Peak Complex. Something, I don't know if this is a room number or what, 2930 UT-112. But anyway, if you did not receive that invite, let me know and I'll forward it to you or ask UDOT staff to forward that to you. So Deseret Peak Complex, and that's the address of the Thank you. Awesome. That's the address. Got it. Okay. So hopefully there will be clear wayfinding signs for us to get there. So thank you, Rochelle. All right. Any questions, comments about that workshop on the 27th? Okay. Second item I've got, I'll just briefly note that a couple of funding opportunities that WFRC helps administer have letters of intent due September 28th. And that's the Transportation and Land Use Connection Program, planning assistance. Basically, I think most of you have applied for that in years past, but it's on an annual cycle. So opportunity to apply for more planning assistance if there's a need for that. There's also a mandatory workshop for the Community Development Block Grant Program on October 5th. At 3 p.m. I believe that's at WFRC offices. And so that's a workshop that if you want to submit a funding application for community development block grant funds this year, attendance is mandatory at that workshop. And then last item, I've got just a few discretionary grant opportunities, and we'll share these in an email as well. But there's a Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods grant program with applications due again September 28th. There's a Rural and Tribal Assistance pilot and a Thriving Communities program. Those are both technical assistance programs. I believe there's a webinar on that Thriving Communities scheduled for this Friday. Anyway, just a few discretionary grant opportunities. All right, with that, anything else? Well, terrific. Thank you for your time. We appreciate the county hosting today, and the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 11th. And like Chip mentioned, we'll please submit letters of intent to him by October 13th for congestion mitigation air quality funding. And if we get some applications this round, letters of intent, like he said, due October 13th and applications due November 17th. If we get some applications this round, we'll have some discussion at the next meeting and hopefully make a recommendation to UDOT on some CMAQ funding there. With that, thank you again, and we'll see you on December 11th.